Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our focus will be on the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. It is a state corporation whose key mandate is to regulate the processing of personal data to protect the privacy of individuals and to provide data subjects with rights and remedies to protect their personal data. And joining us this evening is none other than the Data Commissioner herself, that is Miss Immaculate Kassait, to discuss matters to do with data protection, especially for those living in rural areas. Thank you so much, Data Commissioner, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And maybe we start on that premise, given that many Kenyans do not know you. At the end of the day,
they don't.
Yes, they do not know you. People, especially who are living in the rural areas.
Yes,
maybe
true.
This is the opportunity to tell them what your office do and is their data safe. Yes.
Yeah, I'd assume that now they know. What wamekula fine mingi sana. Anyway, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner came to give breath to the section on the Constitution on right to privacy, which is a constitutional human rights. Yes. That every human being has a right to their privacy, so that the information theirs and that for their family should not be exposed unnecessarily. So this office was set up in, the Act came into being in 2019, the office was set up in 2020. And really our work since set up is to try and educate Kenyans, and that is why we are here, so that in case of any of about their data subject rights, about ensuring that the data handlers adhere to the Data Protection Act. We undertake, as part of our function, we undertake inspection, we do audit, we deal with complaints, and many other things amongst them. So for Kenyans out there, our work, we are set up to make sure their personal information is safe. And if they feel it has been interfered with in any way, that is why the office exists, for them to come and complain officially.
Yes. And Data Commissioner, the reason why I started on that premise is that you have been going around the 47 devolved units. So what have you been able to establish from the ground, and what are people telling you in terms of their data privacy?
I think one of the biggest challenge that you could hear when we did the 47 around last year was the issue around digital lenders. People kept saying, how do I deal with my information getting into the wrong hands, and them harassing me, asking me for money. And we will see from our discussion, almost 70% of the complaints that we received in the first and second year were mostly about digital lenders. And in fact, that is part of the reason the Hustlers Fund was set up. Because people would then, because they are desperate, and the digital lenders had what we call predatory. They were, I would say, they would hunt you like no one. You'd give them the information, and then without you knowing that you have rights, you tell them you can access my contacts. So when you tell them you can access, you click in terms and conditions. You say, access my contact. You can even in some cases, in some jurisdictions, access my photos. So when the day you fail to pay, they then go to your contacts, they start harassing them. Unajua, huyu ni kijana, and you've seen those documentaries run.
Yes.
Yeah, about people who have been harassed. Their pastor no. Maneno ya deni ni siri. So where are you exposing me to everybody? So that is us now, because now why are they contacting the third party? They should have just stuck to you because you're the person who you had a debt with them. So that is one of the key issues. The other one which we dealt with when we came to office was the issue around political parties, because people would find themselves spammed with information and messages, and they never prescribed to that information.
Yes.
The other one we have seen as we went around, you'd see there was also a lot of concern around identity theft, people who are scammed, even though that is not necessarily our issue, but those are the concerns, because we are in an area of digital awareness, and there's a lot of, if you look at the penetration, the latest statistics from CA puts it of over 40 million in terms of penetration of people who have mobile numbers. So it made us convenient, but also exposed us in terms of risks. So we as an office, the reason we come in is to make sure that we put guardrails and put to order any questions around people sharing their personal information without your consent or without a contractual obligation. Yes.
Indeed, Data Commissioner, we had witnessed that, especially even before the election. People find themselves in parties they did not register for, and other issues of their bank codes as well as M-Pesa. You find you've sent somebody money without even your prior knowledge. So in that sense, how many complaints have you received roughly this year alone?
Oh, not this year. I can give generally.
Okay.
Generally, we have so far made, because there are so many complaints, we had received over 7,000 complaints when we started, but some of them you're able to shift and know which ones are which ones are valid, which ones are not valid. So far we have done 160, if I'm not wrong, determinations. And then we have determination means it's a complaint that was filed with us and we went through it, and we, luckily for us or unluckily, we have a lot of pressure on that. We have 90 days to determine. We have also issued 160 determinations, 160 no 100 I'm confusing the figures. 100 there's the determination, there's enforcement notice 100, and then we have like 6 penalties thereabout. It's significant because before this and now what we also did, the first year we didn't have a compensation schedule. Now we have a compensation schedule. If you come to us, when they take the investigation, we establish that actually you are right to have violated, we are entitled to compensation. Our compensation has rated between 25,000 to at times 1 million shillings. So that has in a way also made our office much more visible. And those and because we are putting people to task as they use personal information, they also have to be responsible. Yes.
And on that, given that you said there are compensation, which even I didn't know that.
Yes.
So how many people have been compensated in any case you have witnessed since your tenure in office?
I may not have the figures in terms of the ones who have compensated, but in terms of determination, I'm sure we are at around 160. Yes.
And given that now you have said you have gotten a number of complaints and you have been able to sift through to see what are the most dangerous one and that have affected that particular person, in terms of enforcement, do you get support from the National Police Service in this regard?
We are now in the process of seeking, because there are some we have referred to the National Police Service.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of those which we even want to actually ask for prosecution. There are some people, when we went to investigate the hold back or on to hold information, those ones we have sought the intervention of the National Police through the Director of the Director of Criminal Investigation. There are 2 or 3 matters that we have referred there. And like we say, when issues of ICT, we cannot, it's not an area that can be exclusive to one institution. You also have to have a lot of partnership with different players, and DCI is one of them, and also the Office of Director of Public Prosecution, because some of them are criminal. For instance, cyberbullying is a criminal under the Computer Misuse and Cyber Security Act. So when it's outside our mandate, we refer those cases to the criminal justice system so that they can pursue them. Yes.
And you know the era of globalization, and we're heading to even artificial intelligence itself.
Yes.
So what uncharted waters are we entering as a country, and especially your office, given that at the end of the day it might help us to navigate through these waters we do not understand. So what are these challenges you're witnessing within your office right now?
I think artificial intelligence is uncharted waters. We say we've not seen. It's not that it's not uncharted, because we're already using artificial intelligence even with your phone right now. If you go to Siri, which is an chat box, it's already there. But what is evolving in terms of learning? It's called MLM learning. It's a learning tool for artificial intelligence. It is going to be massive.
Okay.
And it's uncharted. Because this is in a case where you train a machine learning, that's what it's called. You train a machine, it picks up some of the basic concepts, it trains itself and starts self-generating. That you have no control. And for us, why that stands as a risk when it comes to issues around data protection, it's because ideally when you define who is a data controller, who is a data processor, we know it is a person who is collecting data for purposes of using it for contract or any other. But now when it comes to machine learning by artificial intelligence, it means somebody developed a tool, they took it out to the market. So in that case, who is a data controller? And who is it? Because now they've sold it to third party. So you see, when there's a breach, who do you go to? You see, it can be very complex. And that is one of the things we see moving to the future. That is why when it comes to issues around artificial intelligence, we are very consistent. We keep saying, please, ethical use of data. It's always important to let the data subject know that this information will be used for purposes of training. Because if they don't know and the information is used later, that is already a violation of the Data Protection Act. But the issue around ethical use of artificial intelligence is very important. And we don't know what the world is going to look like, what we can do, because also it's regulations always come after innovation. For us is to develop a culture, a practice, a community of self-regulation, which the Data Protection Act actually provides for in terms of self-regulation. And also beyond having a culture of self-regulation, we also have guardrails, just basic principles. For us as Kenya, the Ministry of ICT has just completed a task force report on some of the recommendations on things that we look at, but also there's a committee that is doing artificial intelligence. It gives a broad and guardrail on what you need to look out for. So with the guardrail, it tells you don't go this. But I also say, most importantly, believe me, following human instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Believe me, if you feel like whether as a developer or even if you're not a developer, you're a person in this tech space, there's something you're touching and it doesn't feel right, most likely it is not right. That should guide us, because at the end of the day, it's about it's about humanity, it's about giving dignity to humanity. So things that takes away dignity to humanity, that affect their consciousness in terms of making determination, then ask yourself, is it right? And what can we do to make sure we are protecting the trust, especially the word trust, in as far as data subjects are concerned. Yes.
Now, given that we had witnessed you in various devolved units sensitizing the public, are you planning a similar exercise, given that you do know what is happening in the rural areas? Many of these people, sorry to say this, they're not that educated when it comes to data protections. So what will your office do this time around to ensure at the end of the day, when you leave those counties, at least they know something?
One, we are going to have different strategy. One is town hall meetings. We will have town hall meetings with in different constituencies. Two, we are very targeted this time around. We actually want to mobilize people who are dealing, data handlers, to recommend to us people in the organization who are actually dealing with data. So we'll have two categories. The one we are targeting town hall, who are wananchi, maybe community leaders, and this other one who are people who are currently handling data in their different organizations. That's the multiple face approach we want. But also in the case of where we'll be in Homa Bay this weekend, this Friday, one of the things is road shows. When we have road shows and also being activating our social media, is to also, it's an opportunity for us in ground activation for people to understand who we are and what we are doing as an office. Yes.
And we're coming to an end to our conversation. What are some of the benefits people out there you have witnessed they have been able to get from your office and some of the sensitization exercises you have been doing?
I will laugh and say compensation. I think some of the benefits, it's calling everybody to order, and that is, it's giving back human dignity, and that is uncommensurate. You can't compensate to somebody feeling safe. Previously, people would worry about the information being misused, and there was no one to run to. But now, when you've been harassed, for instance, by a digital lender or an insurance company or a hospital, and knowing that at the end of the day, there's recourse, for me, that is, from a rights perspective, that gives people satisfaction. They know there's redress and that their concerns can be addressed. Yes.
Maybe give us your final remarks, because these people who are watching you mostly are young ones, are youths at the end of the day. You saw them, they were armed with their phones when there were those protests. So what can you tell them to ensure that at least their data is protected? I
think ask questions. Every time you go online, please don't be too quick to share your information. Let's be also careful, because that information, you're basically promoting other people and not consenting to what your information is being used for. But also a challenge, because His Excellency has challenged us in terms of digital jobs. And the question I want to ask, are you a content consumer or a content creator? And as you're a content creator, because we have to ask ourselves, from now this I speak like a Kenyan, an African, a Pan-Africanist, when shall we have our own solutions? They are young people with great talent. Can they give us a solution that is African bred, where the money stays here in Africa, where those pages, social media pages, become an African solution, where we create jobs beyond being consumers of tech? Can we also provide solutions for tech that speak to us as Africa, speak to our nuances, speak to our uniqueness? I think it's important as young people take up that challenge. We've moved away from the era of brick and mortar. Our parents and myself, because I'm considered quite old, are told what we really what we really treasured was to buy Kamugoda, Broti Maguta. The question I want, that era is gone. It doesn't, you require much less to come up with a tech startup. Can we see more tech startup? So that you're challenging us to actually provide space for us to absorb the tech startup, to create young people, to be, I mean, we don't know. The person with the next M-Pesa solution, which we are very proud as a country, lies here in these young people, in the Gen Zs. Let them give us those solutions. Let them create employment. Let's have an African solution. And as we do that, let's make sure that the data is protected, that we are taking into cognizance the rights of the data subject, and that we have data protection by default and by design. We are not just harvesting people's information, we are also taking care of their personal dignity.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Data Commissioner. Thank you so much for making time for us. And there you have it. Just protect yourself in terms of data. You do know that data mining is the most crucial thing that is happening globally due to globalization and the embracement of technology itself. That has been the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner's Office, a state corporation whose key mandate is to regulate the processing of personal data, to protect the privacy of individuals, and to provide data subjects with the rights and remedies to protect their personal data. And if you're in Homa Bay County, you've just been informed by the Data Commissioner. She will be there, including her lieutenants also will be joining her to just sensitize you when it comes to data protection matters. That is it from our end.